So could we please raise our consciousness to understand and stop following or listening in or taking in the messages that say you've got to be logical and linear and practical and work all the time. You're either going to lose with not getting to where you want to be, or you're going to lose by getting to where you want to be and you don't want to be there anyways. Let's just not be that woman anymore.
You've gotten great at divine working, but what about divine living? Welcome to the Divine Living Podcast. I'm your host, Gina DeVee. You're not alone in wanting more, and here at the Divine Living Podcast, you can expect to be part of conversations from women like us who unapologetically dream big and are obsessed with manifesting our most fabulous lives. The conversation starts now.
Oh my goodness, are you in for another treat today? Today was day 2 of Own Your Throne. Yesterday was Own Your Past. Today was Own Your Present. And I give all of my behind the scenes stories, techniques, spiritual gifts, everything to help you get so in love with your life today and how today is going to prepare you for your future. That's what owning your present is all about. It's about completely transforming your money story, learning how to manifest absolutely everything you desire. And I also gave a teaching on the law of least action, which is the minimal amount of energy times the minimal amount of time to get to your manifestation. You're going to love it. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hey, everyone. Welcome, queens. Welcome. I'm so looking forward to diving into day 2. Come on in and introduce yourself to the chat. I want to see who's here, and you all want to see who's here as well. So introduce yourself, say where you live. Just let's get in on this and warm it up. I have just some epic transformation in store for everyone today. So I want to make sure that everyone's here and high vibe and introducing yourself. It's so good to see everyone. I always love doing these back to back to back because we're like really building on the momentum of each day. Who was here yesterday? Tell me what you got. I read all of the chat from yesterday, so I know, but why don't you start to warm it up and just remind yourself, what did you get from yesterday if you were here yesterday? And for those of you that are just coming on in, please introduce yourself in the chat. I want to see wherever. South Africa in the house, Utah, Pittsburgh, Canada, Atlanta. I love it. Wyoming, beautiful. Tiffany just finished the replay. Fantastic. Hey, Yvonne, Tanya, Suzanne, come on in, ladies, come on in. Olga's ready. I love it. Athena in Monterey, beautiful. Cynthia, listen to the replay. Excellent. Share with me what from Dubai. Oh, Nora. Hey, you know Dubai is one of my favorite places. Hey, Erica, nice to see you. Natasha from Basel. I love Basel. Oh, beautiful. Kathy from Santa Barbara, come on in. Now, I want you to introduce yourselves as the queen that you are. So say, good morning. I'm Queen so-and-so. I live in whatever, and whatever you are looking to get from your time today. That's right. We're going to be reshaping your concept of yourself, and you signed up for Owning Your Throne. If you're going to own your throne, you're going to introduce yourself as the queen that you are. So, hey, I'm Queen so-and-so. I live in such and such, and let's see what you are looking to get out of your time today. It can be a word, a bullet point, a phrase. I just want you all to be able to understand what excellent company you are in. That your big dreams and everything that you've got on the line and your frustrations and your lack of clarity in certain areas or the stuff that doesn't seem to keep happening, you're not alone. And that is what every person here, every person watching the replay, this is what's going on for women globally. And the more that we get out of hiding and the more that we get into community and into conversation, this is a very, very queenly perspective to understand that queens get the totality of life. Princesses think that everything just needs to look perfect like it does on Instagram. But that is not why we're here, and that's not why you're here. You are here to be real about it. And when you're real about it, you get everything from the valley to the mountaintop and in between. That is life, and that is queenhood. Now, what we're going to be focusing on today is owning your present so that we don't create unnecessary valleys. There are the valleys of life that we go through. There are different seasons in life, absolutely, of course. And there is so much unnecessary self-manufactured pain that we create ourselves to keep us from the success, the money, the career, the love, the lifestyle that we so deeply crave, that we're working very hard to create, PS. And yet we have that experience like there's one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. Or worse, everything's on the brakes, even though you think you've got the foot on the gas. So we've got just such beautiful, beautiful revelation coming through the airwaves today to free us from ourselves, to free us from conditioning, to free us from all the outdated ways that don't work, to free us from thinking that we've got to be overly masculine and linear and logical, and that's the way, if you just work really, really hard, that's how you're going to get your success. I am here to blow that up and out of the water today. You got that? And that's why you're here. You can't even pretend to do status quo anymore. So for anyone who is brand new, please go type new in the chat. This is day 2 of our 3-day experience, but you are welcome to jump in at any time. We'll make sure that you get the replays. I want to warmly welcome anyone who's new. If this is your first kind of preview or experience with me, or if you've never been in a program with me before, look at all these new people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I love seeing new people. Let's see. Hi, Ruth, Cynthia, Christina, Danielle, Maria, Heidi. Heidi, you're new. You were like so active in the chat yesterday. I love it. Kimber, Tiffany. Oh, I was like, Tiffany, I know you. I'm like, thank you, alumni. You can be welcoming people. So everyone who's new, write it in. And for those of you who are alumni, why don't you just present yourself as alumni? If you have been in one of my programs before, you kind of have been around the queen block, so to speak, presence yourself as alumni, and maybe let some of the new people have a little idea of what they are in store for. So for all of those of you joining us brand new, hello, my name is Gina DeVee. I am the founder of Divine Living and the author of The Audacity to Be Queen, the unapologetic art of dreaming big and manifesting your most fabulous life. And for the past, well, originally I was a broke, struggling psychotherapist who was $75,000 in debt, and at the age of 30 was living at home with her parents in the suburbs of Detroit. And I very much, probably like you, had a dream, and my dream was to live a much bigger life than I was currently living. And so I used some of the skills that I am going to be sharing today to transform my life. And I became a business and transformational coach. And that endeavor was very prosperous, very meaningful, had so much fulfillment go on with it. And then that chapter for me came to a bit of an abrupt completion in 2021. And I have been on the journey of self-discovery and figuring out what this next era of my life has been about and what it leads us to today. And I'm so grateful for all of you who are here, and a really, really warm welcome to those of you who are new. For those of you who've been around a while, let me promise you, if you have heard my story of Queen Esther before, you think you know what's coming up, I promise you, you don't, because this is all brand new. It's a new consciousness. It's a new understanding. Some of it is similar, but it's coming from such a greater level of depth that you will experience it in such a new way. So I want everyone just stay minds wide open, hearts wide open, and we're going to start off with a prayer, and then we'll jump into today's content. Dear God, thank you. Thank you that in every moment we can begin again. We thank you today for the present moment that we get to be with you, that we get to be with each other in community, that we get to have this time set aside to discovering the depths of our desires and what is necessary to bring them about into existence. We know that with you, all things are possible. And yet, most of us have relinquished you to a corner of our minds, thinking that if something's going to happen, we need to roll up our sleeves and make it happen, thinking that we can't fully trust you so much because we need to make sure that we're in charge of our finances or our career or our savings account, or making sure someone calls back, or we go on the date or get the trip or the house or the car or the whatever it is. And we're bored and we're tired. And that's been a very lonely path. So today we drop the reins. We drop the reins that we've been holding on to. We drop control. We drop fear. We drop being scared of the unknown. We drop trusting exclusively in ourselves. We drop all doubt and limitation or fear that it won't happen for us. And we open up to seeing you, to seeing us, and to seeing life in the way that you originally designed for us. And we pray all of this believing, amen, amen, amen. Okay, so let's do a quick recap from yesterday so that we can bring it fully into the present moment of today. Yesterday was all about owning our past. And the reason why owning your past is so important is we get that our thoughts create a reality. That's not a new concept to this group. This group, we understand our thoughts create a reality, and yet we look into our bank accounts. And yet we look into our lives, and yet we look at the circumference of our thighs, and yet we look at anything that doesn't feel really amazing in terms of authentically us. And we say, why am I creating this? Why am I creating this lack? Why am I creating this patheticness? Why am I creating this lack of fulfillment, lack of joy, like any of that? And the truth is, our thoughts do create our reality. And the only way that we're going to change our reality is to change our consciousness. And the only way to change your consciousness is to change your concept of yourself. I'm going to say that again so everyone can write it down. The only way to change your reality is to change your consciousness. And the only way to change your consciousness is to change your concept of yourself. Part of why I wanted you to introduce yourself as Queen today. So the reason why it is necessary to become so crystal clear on the programming of your past, which is way different than overly processing, staying stuck, and continuing to live that out. But owning your past is not processing it, P.S. Owning it is being so aware that you understand the programming that's set in that is producing the result that you are getting in this very moment, in this present moment. And try as you might, if you plant a seed of an oak tree, you are not going to get a raspberry bush. You are going to get an oak tree. And what's going on is there have been seeds of things that were planted that we weren't aware of. And we're sitting here trying to manifest and work and do all this massive action to make the raspberry bush happen. And the oak tree is sprouting. Now, I'm using a couple of positive examples here, but we understand that there are these other seeds of lack, of inferiority, of you can't, not good enoughness. It's for someone else. You're not going to be safe if you shine that brightly. It's not, you're not going to be loved if you outshine others, whatever the thing is. Those seeds have been planted, and that is what's in our garden today that we're working against. The Bible says you struggle and wrestle not against flesh and bone, but against the principalities of the darker world, against the spirit and the principalities of the darker world. So you're sitting there like trying to wrestle with matter to matter and the physical things, trying to get that business off the ground, trying to send more emails, trying to make another social media post, trying to get on another podcast. And if the programming is, it's not safe to succeed, I can't do that. I can't really have that much abundance come in. I can't really be loved that deeply. You are not going to get your raspberry bush no matter what. This is spiritual law. And so the beauty as a queen, and in the whole heroine's journey of the Esther experience, we dive deep into understanding, not dwelling. This isn't a sob fest. This is a reclaiming of your life in a very, very empowering experience. And yes, it gets to be tender and emotional because you fall in love with yourself in the process. Like you're just, with the more you know you just can't not be there for you and give yourself permission and just show up for you unapologetically, regardless of what that old programming was that it's not safe, because you've redefined a new concept of yourself. So yesterday, for those of you who weren't able to be here, we'll make sure that the replay for both yesterday and today goes out to you, that owning your past is essential for you to be satisfied in your future and be satisfied in your present to create the epic future of your desires. Okay, so you've got to become aware of the programming of the past. And if you're going to want more help with that, I have my course coming up. We're going to dive in more deeply. But for the purposes of today, we get to now dive into the present, owning your present. And in addition to falling in love with you, which I so deeply desire for each and every one of you, I also so deeply desire you to fall in love with the present moment. It's a gift. And I know what it is to wake up happy for a reason. I know what it is to wake up miserable because things aren't going the way I want them to. And I know what it is to wake up blissed out for no reason at all. And when we can create such a relationship with the divine, with the quantum field, with the unknown, we get to be happy for no reason. We get to live in this state of expectancy of our good coming to us, and we're not happy because the thing has shown up. We are so lit up because we know that we are in charge of our universe. Now, it wasn't that long ago where I was waking up, and miserable might be a little dramatic, but less than satisfied certainly wouldn't be. And if you're waking up and you're just like, oh, I have that meeting on the calendar, or, oh, I have to deal with my weight again, or, oh, I've got I'm telling this dating thing, or, oh, with the career thing, or like, I don't want to call that person. I don't want to ask for the sale. This is not like, if I designed my life, I'm really not proud of myself in this moment. What's essential for the present moment is to clear out the clutter. And the physical clutter is just the extension of the psychological clutter. You have got to take responsibility to be in choice. And I know it doesn't feel like we have a choice. Well, no one else, it's my business. If I don't do it, no one else will. or, I got to deal with my aging mother or father because my siblings won't, I don't have siblings and there's no one else there, right? Like the ultimate martyr shows up when we get confronted that we actually do have a choice. Well, if I'm not nice to that person, they're pretty influential and they won't give me access to blah, blah, blah. If I don't say something nice on that client text, they're going to get mad and they're paying me this money. Like all of this energy drain, ickiness, etc. So I want you to just take a look at your day or your week. You don't even have to zoom too far out. And I want you to just write down, I'm just going to journal a little bit. I'll pull up some journaling music for you. What's some clutter in the present moment for you? What's just kind of the drag? What's just, it could be super torturous. Maybe you're in a lawsuit or something really excruciating right now, or you're just like, I am not in love with my life. Like I did not consciously sign up for this. And I want you to write down what is the equivalent of clutter for you. And when you've got a few nuggets or morsels, you can type them in the chat when you're ready. And really take fierce personal responsibility. And it's not even the stuff that you don't mind. It's like, what are you not excited about? Because we're going to get to all the exciting stuff. But if the exciting stuff can't fit into a full plate, and you don't want to put, it's like when there's like that old leftover food that's like on its way out. It might not, some of it's moldy, but not all of it is. Do you really want to put fresh groceries into that fridge? No, you want to clear it all out. So I want you to clear out the stuff that's straight up moldy. That includes people, meetings, things that you're doing, that you're saying yes to, that you want to say no to. And then even the stuff where you're like, I'm saving that just because it's a leftover and I shouldn't waste food. But you have no intention of eating it, and you're certainly not looking forward to it at this point. It might have been great for dinner, and you're telling yourself you shouldn't waste food, so you're going to have it for lunch, but you don't want it. That stuff. You know what I'm talking about, whatever the equivalent is of that in your life. The shoulds. It's not that bad. And then the sacrifice of, well, it saves me money. Well, there's a life of a queen. Let's see. What do we got going on here in the chat? It's like I'm even skimming and I'm seeing the money story has made an appearance again. Which is fine because we're queens and we're owning our thrones, and thrones aren't inexpensive and they do belong in castles. So we're going to get this money thing down. Don't you worry. I'm definitely not in love with life right now. I have so much loss. I have I have found myself clinging to all the possessions due to loss and wondering, how to bring in an income. It's a vicious cycle. Yes, Scarlo, it is. I'm not excited about life right now. You know, if any of you knew Scarlo, your heart would be breaking, because who Scarlo is naturally, and those of you who are in the Q Club, you know, she is like the fountain of life. Like, this woman has a personality that just beams in every direction. And I don't know all of you, but I know Scarlo, and I know that a lot of you are just like her. There's a bigness and a vibrancy and so much inside just busting to get out. And yet, from the knocks of life or the conditioning that we've had, we've just like gotten used to giving up our power, handing it over, settling for less, like being willing to stay stuck. And so the whole piece about owning your presence, which I'm going to get into in just a minute, though. To own your present is to prepare you for your epic future. To own your present is about a preparation for you to draw in your epic future. Now, what do I mean by this? It's not about living in the future and living for the future. It's about being so in love with the present moment that you understand at such a soul level that it says you will be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You will be transformed by the renewing of your mind, not figuring out your effing Facebook ads, not doing massive action, not calling 100 people, not freaking out about the money, not saving your latte money. You won't be transformed by, you're not going to get out of debt that way. You're only going to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that is getting you to a higher level of consciousness. And that is getting you to it, which means getting you to a higher level of what? See if anyone's paying attention here. If you're going to get to a higher level of consciousness, that you're going to get to a higher level of, and the crowd went, well, Athena wins it. Self-concept. Thank you very much. A higher level of self-concept. So the reason why I have been able to fall so in love with the present moment, regardless of the physical manifestation coming in, is because I am obsessed with the renewing of my mind. I am so passionate about seeing myself at the higher level of consciousness, renewing all these self-concepts. I, of course, too, have been programmed with the lack and the less than and all the stuff. Like, no one is exempt. So there's nothing to feel bad about or ashamed of or left behind here. When you own your present, you're not just recycling the past. And you are preparing yourself to actually be able to receive the abundance that your future self can be calling in. That you are that powerful. But even if you were to call it in right now, right here today, based on the current programming, it's not going to last. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. And so that's what we don't want it right now. We must prepare ourselves. We must prepare our bodies. We must prepare our minds. So if you're not convinced, let me do this. How many of you have been working really, 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 really hard at something? I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs here and career women. So let's do this. How many of you have been working really, 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 really hard doing everything you know to do, and your business or your career or your money isn't at the level that you desire it to be? Type in the chat and be honest. You're working, and I'm not saying you haven't gotten any traction, but does it feel minuscule? Does it feel barely enough? Does it feel like, geez, I did all that work for that amount of money? Let's get some, right? The chat's blowing up. I know it too. I know it too. I know that the smallest money I ever made was the hardest. And it's when I wasn't applying spiritual principle. I know that when I was listening to all of the entrepreneurial, massive action, hustle, grind, work harder, outwork everyone else, that's when it didn't work. When I had an idea and I didn't tell anyone about it and I just did it because it came from spirit, the practical, the logical, who's found that the practical and logical didn't really serve you? Who's been practical? Put practical in the chat. Who else is like the eternal good girl? Did everything I was supposed to do. I was practical, I was logical, I saved my latte money, I stopped investing, I said I would just learn it myself and figure it out myself, and I was too embarrassed to right? And how's that working? So when I got real practical and logical, when a couple of my clients asked me to teach a sales course because I'm great at sales, and I didn't really want to. Not that I didn't want to help people, it just wasn't my calling on the planet. Like, we all can do a lot. I make an incredible truffled pasta, but I'm like not going to teach a course over it. It's like, you don't have to like monetize everything you're good at here, much to like the entrepreneurial social media dismay. But I thought I was going to help people. I thought I was going to make money. So I went and did it. And it was a great class. For me, it was like I was used to getting like 10 or 15 people. This is the beginning of my career in the class, and 125 people signed up. So it was like a big boom. And I was being practical and logical. And I was like, well, if 125 happy campers are going to go buy a $497, online class, I'll do Sales Superstar too. 5 people signed up. I had a 5,000 person list, mailing like constantly emailing, barraging, like, hey, it's here. Hey, you didn't learn everything in sales in 6 weeks. There's another 6 weeks for only $500. You're going to get all the justification. Everybody was on my list was entrepreneurs. Everybody needed sales training. There was no logic that was getting through. And I sat down and I prayed. And I said, dear God, what's the most pleasurable way for me to make the next amount of money? And I had the idea, it came, I hadn't seen it before, obviously. If I was willing to do Sales Superstar too, if you know me, it sounds a little boring, right? I prayed, and I prayed for a new self-concept and a higher level of consciousness. And in the veil, it's like the curtains parted, and I saw destination intensives. And I went and picked 7 locations around the world: the Ritz in Paris, a Riyadh in Marrakesh, the Lanesborough in London. I think there's a Greek Isle, a villa in Provence. And in 5 days, 7 people bought a $15,000 for one day private intensive. This is be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You will make way more money as a queen than a worker bee. Write that down. God isn't looking for you to be practical or logical. God is looking for you to be passionate and transformed by the renewing of your mind, going to this higher level of consciousness. Now, I promoted that class, I'm trying to remember, well over a month, like you do for most launches, maybe 4 or 6 weeks, something in there. Worked. Got 5 people to sign up for a $500 online course. Got an inspired action that is such an exquisite, just mirroring of the way that I wanted to show up and serve and work and be compensated at that point. So I can teach an online sales course, or I can hang out in the Ritz in Paris with like the most ideal client ever. Oh, and then hop over to London, and then go down to the south of France, and then the Greek Isle, and then Marrakesh was fun too. And I forget where else it was, but there was just such a level of abundance. And this is and the stories go on and on and on. But it doesn't happen. You're not hearing me tell the stories of when I slaved away and it worked out really well, and I'm sure glad I did. So we already heard from all of those who are willing to be honest enough about, I'm doing everything I know to do, and it's just not working at the level of abundance that I crave. How about those of you who have been working your asses off and it did work out financially for you? Let's see some of those in the chat. You did everything. You worked, you hustled, you overrode any kind of intuition about you were tired. It didn't feel good. Like you were gonna make it happen in a man's world, whatever it was. You went and you worked and you worked and you worked and you worked and you got the money, and so you got the financial outcome. And then the next question is, and then how'd you feel? You got the result, but we all know, no joy, no fun, not sustainable, probably bored, exhausted, burnt out. Yes, and then burnt out. I made more money than ever and felt unhappier than ever. Did everything else and made huge money for others. I did, and then got burnt out 5 years ago. Yeah, see, it's not sustainable. So could we please raise our consciousness to understand and stop following or listening in or taking in the messages that say you've got to be logical and linear and practical and work all the time. You're either going to lose with not getting to where you want to be, or you're going to lose by getting to where you want to be and you don't want to be there anyways. Let's just not be that woman anymore. We are not stupid people, and it is really, really not of a high level of consciousness or a mediocre level of consciousness to have this awareness and keep doing the same thing. So I'll tell you what I fell in love with. Spiritual law. The law of least action. Write it down. The law of least action. The law of least action is the minimal amount of time multiplied by the minimal amount of effort. How's that for mind blowing? You don't even need mushrooms for this one, people. I'm just going to deliver. The minimal amount of time and the minimal amount of action. I'm not going to tell the full story today because I know many of you have heard it, but for those of you that aren't aware of my first financial miracle, I was $75,000 in debt. I was down to $60 in my bank account. I had no access to credit and my parents weren't speaking to me. Another story. And I went to a seminar and signed up for $30,000 worth of coaching programs and told them they had 2 weeks till they ran my card. And I didn't have the words of the law of least action then. I think I was probably more in the law of attraction camp at the time. I went into my own soul and I knew that there was a purpose for it. And I started to practice changing the psychology and changing the programming of me having the mantra of I'd love to, but I don't have the money, and thanks, but I'll do it next time, and all the old programming stuff. And through visualization, assumption, faith, persistence, and passion in the 11th hour, which was a mere 2 weeks later, I manifested $60,000 from one client. And I was used to making $24,000 a year as a struggling life coach. One person bought 10 $6,000 packages from me. Those 2 weeks were highly intentional. There was a huge psychological journey that I went through. I was so in the present moment. I didn't have the languaging for it then, but I so owned the present moment every single day, preparing myself for my future, calling in a radically different environment for myself than I had ever experienced or ever knew anyone experience. And I used every day of the present moment to make myself available so that when the new reality came in, that I could actually receive it. There wasn't self-sabotage. There wasn't, no, not me. There wasn't, when it was the 10 and a half hour, well, this isn't going to work. I didn't take myself out of the game. When there was zero indication and zero physical evidence in any form that this was going to happen, I still did it, and I was still there, and I was still there, and the $60,000 came in. The law of least action reverses what we know to be true. So I'm going to tell you, these are some of the greatest hits for those of you that are new. I'm going to tell you a news story that some of you may not know. To let you know, this works in every single area of your life. You want more money coming in, great. You want more love coming in, like this is how you manifest powerfully the feminine way as a queen. The law of least action, minimal amount of time, minimal amount of effort. Okay. Since I was 6 years old, I told everybody I was going to move to New York and become an actress. It was my lifelong dream. Then I grew up and whatever, life happened. 5 years ago, I reactivated that dream, and I went all over New York City, from the Upper East Side to downtown and all around. And I did manifest. Actually, I forgot about this part. I did manifest the apartment of my dreams. It was this like brand new condo, had a rooftop outside. Glenn was thrilled, so you could be outside with the dog, and it was like totally amazing. And literally got the place, beat out the other people. If anyone knows about New York City, like it's applications and lines, and the best candidate wins, and it's the luck of the draw and the whole thing. I was so excited that my dream for New York was finally coming to fruition. I literally, in celebration, went to get a blowout to go sign the lease. Like, this is Gina, this is how excited I was. So I'm in the chair getting the blowout, about to finish, and I get the email that the owner decided to not lease the place after all, and it was no longer available. So this is a classic example of I hadn't fully prepared myself to receive it. So I attracted it in, I drew it in, and then it got canceled. It got eclipsed for me. I didn't understand all that at the time, thought that like I just wasn't lucky, and the New York housing angels had something against me, and like my whole Sicilian thing came out, and there was a thing and all of that. And then I justified all this other stuff like, well, I'm just not supposed to be there and blah, 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 blah. Well, I don't know if I was supposed to be there or not. Here's what I know. The dream had never died. And every time I go to New York, I'm like, ah! like it's like everything. I'm like so in love with that city. I'm so fully myself. Everything works out for me in New York, blah, blah. Well, since then, I've had many discussions with my man, and he is very clear that he does not have the same love affair with New York City as I do. And then he's like, he gave me like a little window for a minute, and then it was, Gina, I don't do winters. I don't do concrete jungle. It's like, it's a hard no. He's like, he's a California. He's from Santa Monica. He likes his woman, his house with a yard, a cigar, and a dog. Like, it's like, he's a simple man. And I'm like, look, he's so great in every other area of my life. I can go to New York. I gave up my love and dream for all that. Go back to New York recently on a solo trip, fall in love with it again. Stop dreaming that that would ever be my residence. And I'm doing all of this work to change my consciousness so that I'm living at the highest level. And I'm talking to Glenn from New York, and he's like, Jeannie, you're so happy there. He's like, why don't we get a place? This is what happens when you own your present, when you are so there for you. The things that have said no in the past get reversed. Like veils start to lift, the Red Sea parts, the way becomes evident. Like I didn't even ask for it. So law of least action, minimal amount of effort, minimal amount of time. I didn't even ask for this. So I'm like, okay. So I go and I jump on, I'm like trying to pare the story down, but I go and I jump on Street Easy. And the one other place that I saw 5 years ago that I wanted, except that wasn't on the Upper East Side, it was in the West Village. And it was like this great townhouse with a backyard. So Glenn and the dog and the cigar, you know, the whole thing, and chef's kitchen, the whole thing. But I couldn't even apply for that because as soon as I saw it, I sent an email. He's like, it's been taken, like the broker. I was like, okay, fine. So 3 weeks ago, I'm going and I'm looking on Street Easy for a place. That townhouse is listed. Like of all of the places in New York, that townhouse. And I was like, no way. It was a lot more expensive right now. But I was like, but that townhouse was listed. So I quickly go on an email. I'm like, hey, is it available? Quickly get an email back. No. it's been rented. I'm like, all right, well, I keep looking. I was on the treadmill dialing in my present, using the present moment and owning the present moment, seeing myself living in New York City with Glenn and getting Lily back because she's been at camp, that's our dog, for all of COVID, and like seeing this outdoor space and seeing us like cooking in the kitchen and seeing us walking this cobblestone streets to West Village on the treadmill. And this is 3 weeks after I talked to that broker. I get off the treadmill, we go to brunch, I get in the car to drive home, I go on and I see the place listed again. And I'm like, this broker is really lazy, didn't list that it was listed and it's not available anymore and it's showing that it's available. Then I go and I decide to send an email, hey, is it available? Long story short, it is. Like, we're first in line for the application. The paperwork still going through and all that. But the point is, when you get so great at changing your concept of yourself, there was like, and everyone was like, all my New York friends had all their reasons why this wasn't good. And I was like, stop. Like, I didn't even listen to it. I didn't listen to how many other people were going to be in line and all the other applications and this and that. I just kept claiming it as mine. And this is the power. Am I living there yet? No, because that is the future. The power, when you own your present moment, you are preparing yourself for this level of greatness. You're preparing yourself for your dream. And so you got to reprogram that the way for you to become successful is not all that hustle and grind to make it happen. It is like owning every ounce of your queenhood. It's going in, it's being still and knowing that I am, and it's getting so great at the law of least action so that you also get so great at receiving it. And this is not a flip of a switch. This is like, you can do a couple of sit-ups and you are not going to have toned abs over that. There is some repetition. There is a process. There is a transformation for the body to go through. And then, yes, you get to have that experience be your actual reality. You're preparing yourself for your future in the present moment. And when you're doing that, you live as if it's already done. Like, I knew that nobody had a chance on that place. I didn't care how long the line was, how many applications were in. Like, it was mine. I was not going to let it slip through my hands this time. And this is what happens when we get so great at queenhood. It is a process and it is a joy. It's an opportunity to go through this psychological journey. But I got to tell you, the thing that you seek, the thing you desire, that the career taking off, your new clients coming in, the money in the bank, the getting out of debt, it already exists in the spiritual realm. It already exists. You want to move, your house already exists. You want a soulmate, that person's already alive. Like it's the psychological journey. It is the spiritual journey for you to open up to be able to receive. That is your work in the present moment. And I got to tell you, if you're going to do it with me, you're going to be in love with life. And it's not going to require the thing to have already happened for you to be happy, for you to be joyful, for you to feel like a queen. Because you're living as if and applying these principles. And there's more that I'm going to be teaching you about, the exact prayers that I'm saying and the meditations that I'm doing and the journaling that's going on and how I am educating myself so that there is no possibility that I am at victim of any area of my life. Now, it's not a magic trick. I'm not waving a wand and my world is all great. And I'm not just thinking one thought about like, oh, I'd love to live in the West Village and poof, it happens. Queenhood is a devoted way of life. And what I can promise you, though, is what's happening for me is I've transferred my work from the masculine massive action to the feminine, intuitive, spiritual. It's very alive. It's very active. It's very engaging. There's no room for a spiritual bypass. There's no room for it to not work out. So there's every level of safety and security, and it literally is your opportunity to guarantee your success when you learn how to use the present moment to prepare yourself for your future. So I am so delighted and excited to share with you. Let me pull up what is going to really help you go to the next level with all of this. For those of you who were here yesterday, you might have seen, I'm going to pull it up for you. If you go to divineliving.com/own your throne, you know, I only have an hour here during this preview, but I am going to have 10 weeks with those of you who are going to be on this journey with me. And let me just share my screen real quick for you. I have been documenting and creating brand new content that is built on 20 years of my work as a transformational coach. So if you go to divineliving.com/own your throne, I want to scroll down to share with you the content that has just been flowing through me. And then I'm going to be teaching in depth. Don't think that these skinny little lines are lacking in depth in any way. I just didn't want the page to be much longer. So fall in love with your life and declare your non-negotiables. This is, I mean, all of it is, but this is necessary for you to have your opportunity to actually fall in love with your life. And if you are saying yes when you want to say no, if you're saying no when you want to say yes, you haven't declared your non-negotiable desires. And I'm going to get them so strong on you so that you're not negotiating and leaving yourself on the back burner. In week 2, we're going to master the skill of self-permission so that you never doubt yourself again. Do you understand that this lack of self-permission for women is everything? It's everything, everything, everything. When you give yourself permission to be a success, when you give yourself permission to be enough, when you are in charge of giving yourself permission to earn that much money, to call in the soulmate, to finally have the health transformation, to live where you want, whatever your thing is, everything changes. Now, we got to become untriggerable and eliminate the self-sabotage, because you can be all high vibey as much as you want, and you know the universe is going to throw you a curveball and is going to give you an opportunity to see how real you are, and going to give you opportunities probably on a daily basis. And one of the things I can promise you about this course in Queen is I'm going to get you so great at focusing that when you're focused and everything is in alignment, this is one of the keys on how you become a magnet for your good. See, we are already magnets. The problem is with our scatteredness, with our distraction, with our lack of focus, our insecurity, all of that stuff, it messes with our magnetism and it rearranges the particles so that we are literally not the magnetic vortexes that we're meant to be. But when you eliminate self-sabotage and distraction and you get back into the focus of your life, that's when you get into this level of magnetism where you're just bringing your good to you. And we're going to dive deep into the Esther experience for such a time as this. What are you meant for? For any of you that aren't sure about what is this season in your life about? A month ago, I didn't know. By the way, this is how quickly law of least action gets put into place. A month ago, I had no idea what I was going to be doing with my life. I was in so much angst because just for me, there's like nothing more depleting or frustrating or that feeling of emptiness if I didn't know how I was going to serve and didn't know what I was meant for. And so if you are in that place, I promise you, you will get clear by being in this journey together. Get great at receiving and serving by making spirituality your superpower. This is the receiving and serving. You're already great at serving, but you've got to understand that overgiving is not serving. Overgiving and under-earning is not serving. So receiving and serving is like breathing in and breathing out. There is a balance and a joy and a flow to all of that. So week 6, we're going to wake up to your truth by accessing your intuition. The only reason why we doubt or we're scattered or we're like, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do that, and we are on this roller coaster ride, is you're not listening to your intuition. And you can't listen to something that you're not clear on and that you can't trust. And every woman deserves to wake up to her truth by accessing her intuition. The courage to communicate like a queen. This is a huge, huge one, affects every area of our life. It includes our own personal self-talk, and it includes the way we communicate with others. We're going to rewrite those hidden subconscious contracts that are ruining your life. This is how this transformation has got to take place. It's not figuring out a new subject line for your newsletter. It's not figuring out, tweaking a funnel. It's the hidden subconscious contracts that are ruining your life. We're going to strengthen your self-worth and live your unique purpose with confidence so that you're not like, oh, but can I really? Yes, queen. Yes. Once you've done the work of the reprogramming, you can. And then you're going to be living your legendary life using the feminine art of manifesting. So how the program is going to work is that you get 2 hours of live calls on Zoom each week. I'm going to do an hour of training, and then I'm going to do live coaching each and every week for you. So we're going to dive in deep personal experiences. I have created a workbook that goes super, super deep with all of the pieces that we're working on each week. There's going to be weekly prayers, to enhance your spiritual journey, weekly guided meditations. We're changing that consciousness, queen, and then access to the Facebook group so you can be in touch with everyone. So I wanted this to be super, super available for all people. This is so important to me that we all get great at being the queens that we are. Normally a 10-week course of mine is $3,000. I mean, all of you who have been in any of them, you have paid that. And I trust that that has been a great investment for you. And I am making this available, this 10-week totally brand new in-depth course. It's $997 for the 10 weeks, or you can do $99 a month, and I've stretched out that payment plan for you. Basically, what it comes down to is $3.50 a day. Like, are you and your queenhood and the changing of your consciousness worth a little over $3 a day? That's what you've got to really get in mind, is that it's time for you to prioritize you. It's time for you to get your breakthroughs. It's time for you to be around all these other women who you're going to learn from and laugh with and cry with and just like get the transformation and the breakthrough together. So if you know that this is for you, go ahead and get yourself registered. We start at the end of June, and you're going to get all the goodies and all the information ahead of time by going and getting yourself registered, either for the pay in full or for the payment plan. And you can go to divineliving.com/own-your-throne. And then if you're wanting even more, if you want the in-person experience with me as well, I have found this gorgeous, gorgeous, Clearly boutique hotel in Naples, Florida, where I am going to be hosting a 3-day retreat in Naples. And it's August 5th through 7th. And we're just going to dive deep. This is very intimate. This one will sell out. The retreats always do. I keep them small. So if you know that you're going to want to join us for the retreat, normally I do a 2-day retreat for $5,500. Those of you who have come, and notice that this one, whoops, I just registered for myself. This one is 3 days for $5,500. Whoops. And then there is a payment plan as well. So I'm going to stop sharing. So go to divineliving.com/own-your-throne, get yourself registered. You are going to actually get into who you are and what you're about, and stop being frustrated with what's not working, and get so great at knowing how to manifest absolutely everything you desire. The best part is, this isn't like reading a book about manifesting or law of attraction. You're now going to be taking the pieces of you, your own programming. I'm going to show you how to find the programming and all of the programming that's ruining your life. So that's part of the Own Your Past that we will get into. And yesterday we talked about being orphaned and exiled, and we're going to go so much deeper in where that came from. Today, you get the power of owning your present, because there is this psychological journey to get to the higher consciousness that is absolutely necessary for you to have a different self-concept. We are all only living out the self-concept that we have. And you can see the progress that you've made, right? The life that you're living today is not the life of 10 or 20 years ago. There's progress that you've made, but it can go quicker and it can go faster. You know, the Course in Miracles talks about effortless accomplishment. The Bible is not the only one. Quantum physics talks about law of least action. There's just such a different way to do life if we don't just know spiritual principle, but if we actually live by it. So my loves, that is the assignment for today, for you to get great at owning your present and understand that in owning your present moment, this is preparing you for the future. So the assignment that I want to give you is finish that, clean out the clutter. You see all of the amazing stuff that's going to be coming at you, right? I want you to just take some moments when we wrap here and when we close to make that list and take a look at it. All that clutter gets to be eliminated. You don't know how, I'm here to show you and help you and support you and create the skills of transformation so that you will constantly be on this path of growth, transforming anything negative, anything boring, anything that's not the exquisite representation of you. That's what this is all about. So finish that. That's your assignment here for today. You're going to get many more assignments when you're in the course with me because we're doing the deep work of cleaning it out. And then come back and join me tomorrow where we will be diving into owning your future. Owning your future. So you've owned your past to own your present. And remember, this works for every area of your life. It's particularly for, and I look at Scarlo and her one comment, and this is all that we did on it. I know that there were a lot of other money story pieces that were coming up there. If you use this course for nothing other than transforming your money story, for those of you that brought that up, or transforming the way you bring money in, then do it for that reason. For those of you that are looking to call in love or health transformation, different things in your life, then you can use it for that too. But you all know I'm in the school of money. I wrote about that in my book. And one of the things that was keeping me from living my big life was my struggle around lack of money and seemingly inability to generate the amount of money that I needed to live an authentic life, actually, to live my big life. And so if that is for you, I can assure you that this applies to absolutely every area. And if I'm going to err on any subject, it's going to be diving into the transforming your money story. So come on in, get yourself registered, and come join us tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm going to teach you how to own your future. And until then, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.